We've got flocks of lapwing, golden plover, widgeon.
Tucked away in the hides of Slimbridge, this is the best seat in the house to spy on the birds having an extended break in Gloucestershire. The lack of ice means that for many species it's warm enough to stay rather than use up energy flying elsewhere. The flooded wetlands bringing in plenty of food and safe places to roost.
The grass has kind of continued to grow through the winter on the milder days, so the grazing's been very good. There's lots of shallow water for the species that specialise in that. The main flocks are actually wading birds, lapwing, golden plover and dunlin, huge numbers of them swirling around the reserve and day roosting and feeding.
The flip side is that the famous Buick swans are finding it warm enough to stay elsewhere, so not many have arrived yet. But with record numbers of other flocks, such as around 4,500 teal, staff are kept busy here just trying to count them.
Just try and work with particularly the waders when they're settled. Pan your way through very steadily. Use a tally counter to help remember the numbers as you go through.
We hope that nothing scares them when they fly off.
If something
You've got to
scares
start
them,
again.
you've got to start all over again.
So while the weather's having a great effect at keeping lots of birds here at Slimbridge, it's also doing a great job for another wetland species that frankly isn't going to be flying anywhere. This really is the pitter-patter of tiny feet, and at only a few centimetres long, 7 baby harvest mice, born to Mum, who was only 6 months old herself. They normally mate in the spring, but the warmth encouraged a bit of early breeding, and they're more than at home amongst the wetlands here.
They were around long before we started planting crops, and so they actually survived in the reed beds and the wetlands and then moved into the corn crops. But as we're changing the farming practices, and obviously if you're that small, a combine harvester can do a lot of damage, and so they're actually moving back into the wetlands, which is why we should be looking after them.
Mum and babies are all in good health, and I think, for once, stealing the show from the birds here at Slimbridge. Steve Nibbs, BBC Points West, at the Wildfowl and Wetlands Trust.